We're live. We're live. We're live. All right. Well, I want to say welcome to everyone who will be is tuning in. If this is your first time seeing me live, this is actually the first time that I'm going live on Substack. But if you've seen me live on Instagram or any other channel in the past, welcome back. If this is your first time, hi. My name is Santana Innis. I'm a master certified alignment coach and social impact founder, and I am joined today by a very special guest. We connected here on Substack in that really special way that people connect on social media. And, we were kind of posting similar content, similar vibes, coming at similar topics from different angles slightly, but still a lot of alignment. So we hopped on, I think it was a Zoom actually. And,
Yes.
we just had a really incredible and connected conversation. And so I immediately wanted to schedule some time to just bring her voice to my audience, meet hers, and, just bring this to the live format and forum. So I'm going to leave it to you to introduce yourself, Margaret. Take it away.
Yes. Margaret Williams. I am the publisher for the Empowered Leader publication. And basically what it's about is I help high performing leaders transition and change. Um, so basically that's what my publication is about. I spent 39 years working for the Army Corps of Engineers. I am also a certified leadership and executive coach and a systemic team coach. And I have a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And I want to thank you very much, Santana, for inviting me here today to talk about such an important topic.
Wonderful. This came up as just kind of like an aside really early on in our conversation because neither one of us are really working in an AI space. My background before becoming a coach and social impact founder through the Glow Initiative was actually in digital strategy, and that's a form of technology. So a lot of my work touched technology as AI was starting to rise and really kind of like meet the public sphere is when I phased out of that career and into coaching. And so you can take a girl out of tech, but you can't take the tech out of the girl. And so we started having a conversation about, as coaches, how are we using AI and what are is it effective? Is it not effective? And how are coaches really using this as a tool? But that quickly slips into a conversation about ethics and how AI came to be and what is really the impact of every time we spin up ChatGPT or Claude and we put in that question like what's happening on the back end, what's the downstream consequence of using AI in our businesses, and really can we just bring that to the foreground so that we have an opportunity to interrogate it and to decide whether or not this is the way that this is the way we want to do business. So, Margaret, what would you add to that based on our conversation?
Well, I would like to start by talking about looking at history first. Okay.
Okay.
We started off with the Industrial Revolution, which was 1790s to 1880s. Okay. Then from there, we moved to the Progressive Era and the Social Reform, which was 1890s to 1920s. Then we entered the Digital Revolution, which was 1970 to 1990s. And then we phased into the information age and AI, which is 2000 to the present, which also includes equity, inclusion, and conscious capitalism. Okay. Um, just before I retired from the federal government, the Army had decided to implement a agile uh, contracting system, which actually is going to once it's implemented, it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's the reality. So me getting out when I did was really a good time. And it makes perfect sense to do these things because the Army is the last one. The Navy already have instituted, and so did the Air Force. The Air Force is first, then the other ones come last. But nevertheless, we can see the evolution, as we talked about through history, that this is going to happen whether we like it or not. Okay? Because if we look at statistics, the digital age, 68% of the global GDP is expected to be digitalized by 2025. Okay, and by 2030, up to 375 million workers will need to switch occupational categories due to automation and AI. So we either going to get ahead of the game or we are going to be left behind.
Yeah. I wonder if it's not such an either or, like get ahead or be left behind, adopt or adapt, or if there's another category that we can sort of peek around in, right? Because, we've seen it, right? I worked in the technology space for a long time, over a decade, 15 years, and I saw all kinds of ebbs and flow in terms of the types of technologies that were proposed. We used to say blockchain was going to change the world. And I still think that there are people trying to figure out what blockchain is and how it will or will not change the world, right? You think about Blu-ray and HD DVD. HD DVD was actually the better technology, but Blu-ray is the thing that caught on. And so one was, you know, fallen by the wayside and the other one was adopted. And so sometimes it's not that that particular technology is definitely going to become the prevailing tech. I think we've sort of passed the point of no return on AI. Um, and I also think that a lot of the way that AI is being driven right now in terms of generative AI and the consumer, the commodification of AI. So making AI into a product that consumers can buy. I can pay for a Chat GPT subscription. You can pay for a Claude subscription. And a lot of those dollars are then being added into the investment that companies make, right? We pay our dollars in. It's a small portion of it, but you have companies like Anthropic and ChatGPT, OpenAI, and others that then use that to buy more compute, right? Or to create data centers offshore. That is a whole thing. And so I don't think that it's necessarily a will this happen or won't it happen. My sort of curiosity right now is there anything that consumers can do to have a stake in this, or to have a voice in this? And if that's possible, then what do people need to know in order to make an informed decision? Because when I talk to coaches that are starting to use AI, they don't know how much energy is consumed by every single question that you ask AI. They don't know how difficult it has been for laborers in Kenya, in Venezuela, who have been tasked to read certain prompts that are absolutely horrific. Um, so most people that I know that are starting to dip their toe into the AI waters for their businesses, they don't know what's on the back end of that experience. And I'm just curious if we all knew how much water is consumed, how much power, electricity, what kind of deals are being done with governments that are a little bit, maybe, we're a little skeptical about. to make this happen, if we all knew, what would our take be? What would our voices be? And how might that be able to shape how this technology develops into the future? It's here, but do we have a say? And if so, what is it? That's sort of my curiosity.
Those are all valid questions. And what I would say to that is, as the government would say, you have to sacrifice the few to save the many. Okay.
Mm,
And that's the reality. Okay. That's the world that we live in. And, so when I was talking to the bank last week, okay, I'm thinking, I'm talking to an actual person. Okay. So when they called, I'm like, oh, okay. So I was scammed out of $5,000. Okay. Because somebody
ooh,
called and said they were the credit union. Okay. And and they use technology to do it. So the point is, I said, no, I'm gonna call you back so I can make sure who you are. And then I found out, she said, well, I am a virtual assistant. And I'm like, oh my God, she sound like a person. I thought it was a person. It was a virtual assistant. What I'm trying to say is that back in the day before, Verizon or whatever, AT&T, they were Bell. Okay. You had all these telephone operators. They made good money. Okay. And then they phased them out. Then they moved the call centers to like, Pakistan and India. Now they've gotten rid of the call centers and they're replacing them with AI. So where are all these jobs going? All these jobs are gone. Okay, so that's where we at now. So we are being forced to learn these things whether we want to or not. If you want a job, I've had these companies calling me. They say, oh, we seen your resume. I know they lying because I haven't even updated my resume. These are Chinese companies in the United States. They want me to work for them, but they want to pay me in Bitcoin. And I'm like, no, baby, I don't take Bitcoin. Okay. So the world is changing whether we like it or not. So what can we do about it? We educate ourselves. Okay. We learn the tools too. Okay. So we can leverage in our business. Okay. Because I used to hire people. If I'm looking to hire a virtual assistant, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to hire anybody from the United States because I can't afford their price. I'm going to go to the look and see where I can find somebody in India or Pakistan because the prices are cheaper that they pay in comparison to somebody from the United States. I can't afford that. Now, with these AI tools, I don't even need them. I'm going to utilize these AI tools and become my virtual assistant because I can't afford to pay anybody. And by the time you figure out how you guys can work together, I can use these AI tools and get things done quicker and faster. Okay? It's this is the world we live in. You either going to excel or you're going to get left behind. It's up to you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Maybe it's me. I don't know. No. Okay. All right. So this is the situation that we are in. Do I want to use AI tools? No, but I have to. I'm being forced to use the AI tools because I just can't keep up because there's changes happening every day. Okay, in the
yeah,
business arena. Okay, and there's so many writers out there, so many things that we have to keep track of, finances and marketing and so many things. So how can we utilize these tools to keep up? So we
yeah,
can keep raising the bar. Okay.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. I was just starting to say that the example with Pacific Bell or Bell, the phone company, like, that was such a huge name in the United States. You could think of Montgomery Ward or like any of these large companies, first Montgomery Ward, J.C. Penney's, these all started as mail order catalogs,
Sears.
right? Sears, all of these mail order catalogs. You could buy a whole house on a mail order catalog. Montgomery Wards. Yeah, you could you could send them $5,000 and they would ship you a house. Like, I am not kidding. Some of them are still standing today. And so there is something about like getting in and then adapting, right? Like, this is the way the world works now. And, so the pace of technology of the future, like things are changing. And I think as business owners, as small business owners, for me, I'm an alignment coach, among other things. But primarily, what I work with my clients on is like, how do you become so intimately acquainted with who you are, what you value, what you believe in, and what you need to be well, that when you make decisions in your life, they are so crystal clear because you know whether or not you're walking in the right direction. And so
Right.
I would say that applies to business owners as well. And, I think that back in the day, it would have been impossible to hire, an account, like for many solo entrepreneurs, hire an accountant, hire a marketer, hire an assistant, hire this, hire a that. And so the fact that you could even, in the gig economy, go to something like Fiverr and have small jobs to support you as an advance in the technology, so to say. And now, we have AI, and AI can speed up a lot of those processes for us. And then at the end of the day, I think as we make these decisions as business owners, ultimately it has to also come down to like what aligns with our values. And if that's something that even comes into play. For me, I use Claude. And I chose Claude with Anthropic because Anthropic seemed to me to be a more values driven alternative to ChatGPT. And as we were discussing in our catch up last week, Margaret, I just finished reading the book Empire of AI, which is sort of an expose about OpenAI and how ChatGPT came to be and all of those things. And I think that for most people who would read it would be kind of like, oh, this really sucks. Like, this is not good. There's a lot in there that as just a human being, it made me, it was upsetting to read a lot of it. And so to know how, employees were, what they were asked to do or how they were treated in essentially call centers, folks tasked with either training or reviewing the data that would come out of OpenAI, ChatGPT, or indeed how Google, OpenAI, and others are offshoring their data centers to countries that have super loose regulations around how much water the companies can extract from the ecosystem in order to cool the processors for every time someone submits a chat to ChatGPT. So for me, as a little side hustle, sometimes I help coaches with digital strategy just because that was my background for so many years. And so I try to talk to people about how to be more efficient with how they're using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool that you happen to be using, because there is a downstream consequence. And it's important that we not separate ourselves from that downstream consequence. The future of work is one. Okay, progress is going to march forward. A lot of people are already losing their jobs to AI, and I don't know what the future holds in that regard. But also, we have one planet, right? And so there
Yes.
is an environmental impact. And it's not just like a
Yes.
cute little like chat GPT, like what's a cute recipe when you could, find that information another way. So, it's not, I'm not saying that people should not use AI. That's not my position at all. But I just would like people to understand what happens when they put a query into ChatGPT or Claude, like what's happening on the back end, so that they can make an informed decision about how they want to integrate that technology into their business. That's sort of my thinking these days.
Well, as we know, government regulation supposed to take care of these type of um, atrocities, okay? But in different countries, you know, money talks, and when
Yeah,
you have money, people have a tendency to turn and look the other way
yeah,
and go ahead and do what you want. There's nothing that we can do about that, okay? Um, that's just a part of doing business. But but it's good to educate people about these things, about the
yeah.
pros and cons of the systems that we use. Okay, but as a kid, I remember watching the Jetsons. Okay, and the rich are really, really already living these things. Okay,
I still want my
we
flying car.
okay,
I still
okay,
want my
get
flying
smart.
car.
Okay. So this is the future. So
Yeah,
if you want to be a part of it, you have to get on board, or you're going to get left behind. That's it.
yeah. I, I am. I hear you. Yeah, I do. I mean, the future is here. This is the future. If you would have asked me even 5 years ago if I would be able to just ask technology to, write me a marketing strategy or, write this, like I would have probably laughed in your face. I didn't believe that we would get here, but here we are. And this is really just the beginning. This is
It
really
is.
just the beginning. This blows the lid off of so much. This is like a quantum leap forward in technology. And with that said, I think for me to be in alignment with my business values, like I just have to educate myself on like what is going on, what happens, what happens downstream when I put a query into Claude, or indeed when I pay Anthropic $20 a month to use Claude, like what happens. But I'm also, keeping an eye on like what's the job situation like in the United States, 300,000 Black women lost their jobs. They were laid off and pushed out largely from the federal government in just 3 months from February to April. Like it was bleak and dire. And so when we start seeing companies like Duolingo, for example, they laid off a mass amount of their employees solely for the purpose of using AI to do those job functions. And they went too fast and they had to hire a bunch of people back, but it's not long. It's not long. So what's going to happen to all those people? What jobs will they do? How will they feed themselves and their families? Like I think about this. And so it's not that I don't think I can slow Anthropic or OpenAI down just because I choose not to pay for Claude. No, it's going to go where it's going to go. And also, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And I think what I hear you saying is, this is a technology that can help business owners kind of get ahead, and you got to sink or swim here. You have to learn this technology, and I think you're right. I mean, oh gosh, it's tough for me from an ethical perspective to know some of the things that are going on the back end, and then to decide what do I want to do with this information. But that's the point of information, I suppose, is that it has power and it allows you to make the decisions that are aligned with what, I don't know, your values, your vision for the world, or your ethics or morals, or how you want to show up in a space at any given time. And so, woo, Claude. I mean, I use Claude all the time. And then now that I've finished this book a week and a half ago, it's like, I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know how I want to continue leveraging, or if I want to continue leveraging the technology at this point, knowing that regulation has not caught up to industry, as regulation often lags industry.
If you wait for the regulation to catch up, you'll be too far behind. It's not
Yeah.
going to catch up. It's not
Yeah.
going to. I can tell you that working for the government for 39 years, you can't beat
Yeah.
them, join them. It's not going to happen. Okay?
Uh,
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So what
So,
are some of the ways that you're using AI in your business?
well, one of the things that I'm looking at is I was looking at using Notion to put everything in there so I can track everything that I am doing. So that way you can get your reports, weekly, uh, quarterly reports, and see where you are financially, see where your business is as far as with the growth, with money coming in, money coming out. And this is what I want to do to be able to do that because I had a company to contact me from LinkedIn and ask was I interested in bookkeeping. Yeah, I need bookkeeping because if you don't balance your books, the IRS will be knocking at your door and I don't want them coming to my door. So yeah, I need these bookkeeping services, but how I'm thinking to myself, how can I do it myself? I'm gonna
Mm,
use AI. I'm gonna use AI to do all these things that I need to do. That way I can focus on the things that I love, which is coaching and writing and doing lives. Okay. Because
yeah.
even with the coaching, we still have to do all the reports. You know what I'm saying? We have to keep notes on all these sessions that we're doing. We have to keep those records for what, up to 7 years. So everything that we do requires us to learn or to use some type of system. Okay. How can I, like in my time with the government, how can I streamline all of these things?
Mm,
And I'm going to use AI to do that. So I don't have to spend a lot of time doing it myself. Right.
yeah. Yeah.
That's how I used it. Also, when I was working on my master's degree, I'm using Google Scholar, obviously, but you need other resources as well. When you're putting out articles and things of that nature, academically or whatever, you want to use the latest information within the last 3 to 5 years. You don't want to use information from 10 years ago. It might be obsolete. Some other processes have replaced that. Okay, and that's another thing. Us as coaches, we have to continue to get our continuing education credits. Okay, to continue to raise the bar because information is becoming obsolete as we learn things. New things are being replacing those things. So we constantly have to be learning new things. And that's why I'm always on Substack. I'm learning new things, learning different things. So how figuring out how to incorporate this new knowledge into what I am doing. Okay?
Yeah.
We want to be fresh. We don't want to give old and stale information.
Yeah.
Okay, this out there 5 years ago. Okay, what's the latest? What's the greatest? What can I give people now? Just going to be relevant today, not something was relevant 2 or 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. How do I use AI? I mean, there's AI that's integrated into my CRM. So anytime I have a session with a client, it creates session notes which I can then share with them, and it generates some top lines, some outcomes. What did the client commit to? What do they want to be working on over the next amount of time? And I can share that out with them. So that's one way that I'm using it. I'm using Claude still at present. I use Claude for all kinds of things. I've used Claude to help with grant applications, brand voice, brand positioning exercises, some content. I don't love using it to just completely write something, but I'll say, here's something I've written. Can you tell me, like, be my editor, tell me where the flow is off, tell me if I've made a grammar error or a spelling error. Is there a way I can, switch up the layout, so as an improvement tool for writing, I appreciate it in that regard. And if I'm doing work for clients, if clients, yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. If I'm working with clients in terms of like helping them to write things or etc. So sometimes I give workshops for coaches on how to leverage different tools that are available to them, including AI, of course, because it's such a common practice. Because I think the number one thing that coaches don't anticipate coming into the space is that they are being tasked with not just doing the coaching. It's also being the CMO, the CFO, the CEO, the LMNOPQOOO, like all of the things. And that is a lot to process for many, many new coaches. And so AI is something that can definitely help them. And um, I also hear people, I want to get your take on this here. I hear people using Chat GPT or Claude sort of as a therapist or as a coach, which of course could threaten our industry. And, I am aware of some startups in the space that are creating AI coaches to help roll out coaching to companies that don't want to pay humans to do it, right? So there is some disruption attempt in the coaching industry with AI in also for therapy. Obviously, I never recommend someone use AI as a therapist or a coach. I think it's helpful, but nothing is a substitute for that human interaction. But I want to get your take on this because just earlier this week, I believe Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, said that he doesn't know why people use ChatGPT as a therapist because people say, the darndest things. And that's not only accessible to OpenAI employees, but it's also discoverable in a lawsuit. So if someone sues you, they can subpoena ChatGPT and OpenAI in discovery to get the contents of your chat. And so, I'm curious your take on AI disrupting the coaching or the therapy space, which again are different but similar. And, any concerns you have about your own job security in that way.
Well, I've already lost my job because of the thing that you talked about. So as far as the coaching situation, it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. They're going to continue to utilize AI in every way possible to get as much money as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Go for it. Because to me, the human heart, the communication between humans, that's something they cannot mimic. And so people are going to try anything just because some people are just thrill seekers. Okay, go on and do you. And in the meantime, we just have to continue working on our business and doing the things that are in alignment with our values.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the reason why all of these companies now are coming out with their ethics uh, um, laws and regulations, including the ICF on how we need to deal with AI.
Mm,
Okay, there's still always going to be an ethical issue about all of these things.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree with you. And that's something that I encourage everyone experimenting with AI to explore and just have a position on like ethics, morals, there's a difference between those, right? Whatever your morals tell you. And then of course, as a coach, ethics come into play in terms of like, I would never put client information into AI, for example, or ask AI, what to do, in a coaching situation. So I think that comes more from a place of being informed by the ICF Code of Ethics, which is the kind of school of thinking that I did my coaching education and certification through. So I'm bound by its code of ethics.
Right.
In terms of how to engage with AI in an ethical and a moral way, I think, it comes down to people understanding like what's on the table, what happens, like what are the potential consequences of using AI in certain situations. Do you want to do that from a moral or ethical perspective? Do you not want to do that from a moral or ethical perspective? But I absolutely hear what you're saying. Like, it breaks my little heart to hear you say it, but it's true. I mean, corporations will optimize for shareholder returns, like to the point that a significant number of people will lose their jobs. I don't know who they think is going to continue buying their shit once everyone doesn't have a job. I don't know, like, the long game of it. But I just think it's something for everyone to consider. How do you personally want to engage with this technology? Not just from a business perspective, like, okay, it is something that can help your business to streamline or to be, I don't know, more efficient or to allow you to do more with your resources. Absolutely. But also, when we make that decision, like right now, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I'm not sure about you, but since sometimes coaches, they grow or they open a practice and then they're employing other people, et cetera, et cetera. When you make the decision to say, okay, I need to save money, not from a need standpoint, but from a I want more profit standpoint, and that means I'm not going to hire someone, you're also part of the ecosystem, right? You're also making a decision not to pay a wage that someone else would have otherwise received. So, not to say anyone needs to or not needs to make certain decisions, but I would just advocate for all people to really understand, like, where do you fall in all of this, and what feels ethical and what feels moral for you as a human being, but of course also as a business owner using AI, as a coach, or as anyone engaging with the technology.
Well, the way I see it is, I'm 63 years old. Okay, you cannot survive without technology, and not in today's world. Okay, I
Yeah.
cannot run my business without assistance because it's too much work. So how can I utilize that efficiently and effectively? Is you use AI tools to help me to run my business like the rich do. Okay, I'm not rich, and that's the reason why I'm gonna use the tools. Okay, to have that virtual assistant to help me to stay on track, so I can help more people. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't help people if I'm drowning in paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can't run my business without the paperwork being done. So,
Yeah.
what's the choice? There is only two choices. So there
What
we
are the
are.
two choices?
I'm going to implement the AI tools to become my virtual assistant so I can have a lean, mean business. Okay. At some point, if I can afford to hire somebody, fine. But at that point, I won't need it. I won't need to, perhaps. Okay. But that's the world we live in. We're being forced to do this, not necessarily because we want to. Okay. You don't agree with that?
I mean, I agree with it to probably up to 75%, right?
Oh,
I mean, I look
okay.
at folks that refuse to adapt. I mean, I've known people that didn't even want to have credit cards. Nowadays, what
Okay.
can you do? What can you do without a credit card, a credit card or a
I
debit
don't
card? What
know.
can you do? Almost
Nothing.
nothing. Almost nothing. And it's such a problem that in communities where, for example, if we think about immigrant populations or undocumented people, if they don't have an ID, they can't get a bank account. If they don't have a bank account, they can't get a credit card or a debit card. If they can't get a debit card, then they can't participate in society, right? So it comes like at some point in the adoption curve, you always have early adopters that are just like, fuck yeah, new tech, let's do it. And then you have like these laggards sort of bringing up the rear, and then there's the people in the middle that are like, oh, okay, it's here, I'll use it. But always there's a point at which in the adoption of technology that you kind of don't have an option anymore.
That's what
Um,
I'm saying.
On an
That's what I'm
airplane, they
saying.
don't even take cash. So what if you're having a diabetic episode and you need to drink a Coca-Cola? You can't fucking buy it. You can't buy it if you don't have a debit card or a credit card. So technology will keep marching forward. It's sort of like, have you ever run a marathon?
No.
I've run a few marathons, and by marathons, I mean halves, people. That's my distance. So I've run a few half marathons. There's a person with a job, and they drive a van, and they're paced to the absolute last time that they have the permitted legal option to have the streets closed. And they sweep everyone up that doesn't have a chance of finishing, and they put them in the van and they drive them to the finish line. This is folks that get injured or have mobility issues or whatever may have you. And that's sort of how technology works as well. It's like at some point, the people that are lagging behind, like they'll get, brought forward in the van, because we need, they will eventually be forced into adopting a technology that they were resistant to. I also think that we have choices. And unfortunately, when we think of companies like Google or Apple, even that operate as quasi monopolies, right? They're not quite monopolies, but they're so powerful and they're so large that if you're doing business today, it's very unlikely that Google touches no part of it. That's how big it is, right? You're either using their products to advertise your business, or your employees are typing up and searching in the Google search engine, or you're using the G Suite to run your company, and you're using Google Docs, and you're using Gmail to run your business email. There's almost not a way for you to live online or do business online without using Google. It's very difficult. It's possible, but it's difficult. And so from that regard as well, I think that people don't have as much choice as we should have, right? As I would like to have when I want to be able to make an ethical stand and say, I don't want to use a technology that's destroying nature in another country where we can't see it, so it's secret and nobody knows. I don't want that blood on my hands. But what choice do I have, to your
None.
point? And so
None.
for me, I'm going to keep looking, right? I'm going to keep looking for like, what is the most ethical decision that I can make with my dollars, knowing that no decision at this point is going to be a pure, clean, there's no bystanders, no one's getting hurt, no one's like, that's not possible with modern technology companies and these quasi monopolies. So like I hear you. I don't know that it's possible to like actually efficiently run a business, especially as a solo entrepreneur, without any of these large tech companies or technologies touching your business in some way, shape, or form. And also, I believe in grabbing your goddamn wallet. Like, we vote with our money. We vote with our money every day. Every day we're at the ballot box with our money. And time again, like, we have seen the power of people coming together and taking a stand with their money and getting businesses to do the right thing because people stood up and they said no. So I guess it's maybe an idealistic part of me, or it's a justice oriented part of me, or it's just the part of me that like I need to live in alignment with this little voice that's inside that says, you know what, just because it might be a little bit more difficult for me to find another resource, uh, I'll do that, right? I'll bear that because that's what it means for me to align with me. That's what it means for me to feel like I am walking due north with my ethical compass, with my moral compass. And that's going to be different for everyone. But
Exactly.
with mine, it means that, oh, I don't accept that I don't have a choice. I don't accept that. I don't want to
Okay.
accept that, you know?
Okay.
So I'm with you. And then there's like a little like troublemaker in me that wants to like get in a little good trouble and stick it to the man and be able to make the most ethical humane, ecologically friendly choice that I can possibly make. What's your take on
I
that?
applaud you.
How does that land with
I
you?
Well, having worked in the federal government for 39 years, and I've seen so much change go through, and I'm wise enough to know that when the change comes, I'm going to be a part of the wave. I'm going to be in the wave or at the beginning, not at the end.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
Yeah.
where I'm going to be.
You're an early adopter.
Absolutely.
You're an early adopter. I'm always like in the middle. I'm always in the
Okay.
middle. I'm always in the middle of the adoption curve. Never at the end, but I'm always a little skeptical at the beginning. It's true. I never got a
It's all good.
TikTok, for example. I never got a TikTok. I was like, oh goddamn, I can't learn it. I don't want to. So I mean there are some ways in which I lag a little bit behind. But no, I mean I think that AI is here. We can't say that it's not here. We can't it exists. We can't say, oh, I wish it didn't exist, or I wish uh but yes, so let me put a finer point on that. We cannot say, I wish AI didn't exist. It exists, it's here. But we can say, I wish AI were different. I wish AI used more diverse training materials so that there weren't subtle biases against gender or certain races or skin tones, right? Because this has a very, very real impact on people's lives when policing, for example, is using AI tools for face recognition. And they only trained the AI with bad guys that were black. And they only used a few bad guys that were black. And so the AI only sees bad guys as black and sees all black guys as the same guy. There have been literal arrests made based solely on AI. And then you hold the two pictures up next to each other, and any human being can see plain as day these are not the same men. But if you
It
train AI in a biased way, bias in equals bias out. That's how it works. And so we can't say, I wish AI weren't here. I mean, we can, but it's not useful. But we can say, I wish AI were different. And we can't say, we demand AI become different.
well, what they
I
need
think.
to do Yeah, well, what they need to do is put more quality control into place, and that costs money. And they try to eliminate that by spending less money as they can and get more profits for their shareholders. Okay, that's how that goes. So it is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. And like you said, garbage in, garbage out. If you change the processing on that on that taking all the biases and everything out, then obviously it's going to take more time, it's going to cost more money, and they're not interested in spending any more money than they have to. Okay,
Yeah. We got an
that's
interesting
that's
comment
reality.
from Brandon. I don't know if you saw that down at the bottom. Brandon said, I work as an AI trainer. And part of that is punishing the model for showing biases. I think that's really interesting, and I would love to learn more about that. If you have a little more to say about that, Brandon, and you're still on, please do type a little comment and drop it in there. Because I
Interesting.
do find that really interesting. And, from what I read in the Empire of AI book, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. One thing that OpenAI seemed to do, from my understanding from the book, was continually move some of this AI training work around internationally to the place where they could find the absolute cheapest labor for the task. And so
That's what I'm
when they
saying.
just needed folks to input data, they were very happy to pay literal cents, literal cents per hour, sometimes to people escaping the conflicts and the economic collapse in Venezuela. It's a very vulnerable population of people. And when came time to review, they had to find a group of people that could read and speak English. And so they moved those operations to Kenya. And they were again paying really we're not even talking $1 an hour here, like very, very little. And so, yes, I mean, they're absolutely going to try to get the lowest possible expense. And I mean, shit, man. I think if people knew what the experience was of, folks down in Venezuela working for these outsourced call centers, like, you, I just think it's important for people to engage with how these technologies are coming to being and then make an informed decision about how you want to do things. Let's see. Brandon says, we're told to train the models in a variety of voices and different types of writing and rate them down when showing any kind of racism or discrimination. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. And um, I would wonder, like, who all is doing that, right? So if you have a group of mostly white men, just as an example, not speaking to you, Brandon. I don't know you. We just met. But if you have mostly white men and that is the judge of, is this racist or is this sexist or is this ageist or biased, if there's only one voice that's judging whether or not the thing is or isn't an ism, I think it's still a tough sell. Especially when so much of the ability for these models to become effective comes down to compute and how much data. It's like terabytes and terabytes and like it's a scale of data required that's like really mind-boggling to understand. So I don't know if, when, or how we'll actually get an ethical AI model or a non-biased one. There is a fella named, I think his name is Christian Ortiz, and he does Justice AI, which is a really interesting model that's built on anti-racism and anti-colonialism. I looked at that one. I wanted to buy that one, but that one was built basically on top of ChatGPT. I'm assuming an API. And so you have to first pay ChatGPT in order to then access Justice AI. And so it's sort of like, oh, it's cool that this AI has less bias or is unbiased, but then also I have to pay OpenAI, which does shady things. So, I mean, to your point, again, we come back to the same point. We don't have as much choice as we would like to have.
No.
And, do you want to die on this hill and be completely left behind and face all of
No.
the fallout of that because you don't have choices? For you, it's a no. For me, it's a question mark. I'm thinking about it. I got to think about it if it's a hill I want to die on. But I mean, it remains to be seen. It's something where I'm learning and I'm trying to educate myself and then make as informed a decision as I possibly can.
That's good. Brandon said something else to you.
What'd he say? Let me go see. We're asked about our demographic information, so I would assume they choose from various backgrounds. That's awesome. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for adding so much to this conversation, Brandon. I appreciate it. I'm sure Margaret appreciates it too.
Absolutely. Do I like AI?
Uh,
I mean, I like it to the standpoint of me being a self-improver, that I can get additional information
yeah,
accessible to me in a quick way. And I love that,
yeah,
because as a coach, I have curiosity and I need answers. Okay.
yeah,
And so for that, it's an invaluable resource.
yeah. And it is, and it has been, and I think that the future of AI is bright and long, right? I think we're just only starting to see how that technology can be utilized. We're seeing it in healthcare settings. We're seeing it, and that's where I'm most excited. That's where I'm most excited. Train AI on how to spot difficult to diagnose breast cancer. Do that. Do that all
I
day,
believe, I believe
right?
they have, yeah, I believe they have doctors now. I mean, the robots, doing the surgeries on certain things. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
utilize it to improve our healthcare system, our educational system, and certain things, yeah, utilize it for those things. Okay. Instead
Yeah.
of not necessarily eliminating all the jobs, because what's going to be left for people that need jobs? Okay.
That's probably my top two concerns with AI in this moment. I'm not worried about AI overtaking the humans and blah, blah, blah. My top two concerns with AI right now is what are we going to do with all the people that lose their jobs? And my second top concern is what are we going to do about the environmental impacts of AI? Those are my two biggest concerns. The third is probably the bias, right? And the fourth
Yes.
is maybe starting to edge into like, okay, but could we get a Battlestar Galactica situation here? Like, could the AI take over? Could it kill all the humans? I don't think so. I mean, it's not my primary concern right now, but it is exciting, right? It's exciting to think of it going into the healthcare space, into I think it has huge implications for research and um, yeah, so I'm still excited by it. And I'm trying to find which way my little ethical compass is going to point on how I want to have my hands in the mud with the technology. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And I'm hearing you. You are full steam ahead. This is something that is opening up opportunity, access to information, systems, ease, cost savings in your business. I think that's true for a lot of people today.
And even to improve the quality of our products and services, as well, even more so.
Absolutely. 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 If you tell Claude to be very honest with you and not hurt and not worry about hurting your feelings, it will tell you the real. Believe me, I have tried.
Okay.
Believe me, I've tried. So tell them to hurt your feelings and it will. Like, tell it to be really, really, really honest with you because otherwise it's kind of positive, like, you go, girl. But I'm like, no, I don't need that from you. Thank you. I have enough of a support system. Like, tell me what's real. You're a machine. Give it to me like a machine. Hey,
Hey,
Ashley, good afternoon to you. Just saw your comment down below. Margaret, we've been
hey,
on for an
Ashley.
hour. I feel like we could stay on for like 72 more hours having good conversation and just sharing our viewpoints. But I know it's morning for you and I want to get you off into your day. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share with the lovely folks that are still with us?
We just need to embrace the technology, and utilize it for what it is. Okay. And become the person that we're meant to be. Okay. It's just a resource, and that's just the way to look at it. That's all I really have to say, other than thank you so
Yes.
much.
Beautiful. Closing thought for me, I would say, yeah, same. I think it's a resource. I think it's providing access to a lot of things for a lot of folks. And also, I think there are, with anything, consequences to the way we choose to spend our dollars. And so, I would just say educate yourself. Find
Absolutely.
out what's happening when you're using this technology, look into the companies and if it's still a green flag for you, do it. And if you're a little curious about it's a yellow flag or a red flag, there are other companies out there that you could look into. So I think it's a yes and for me. The technology is here to stay and it can help many, but there are, consequences to all of our decisions. So AI not excluded. You are so welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all the folks
Thank
that
you.
joined us for this conversation. Margaret, thank you so much. I loved hearing your background and your point of view, especially as someone who worked with the Army Corps of Engineers for almost 40 years, all the things that you've seen, all the experience that you have and sharing that here today with everyone. So thank you again for collaborating with me and showing up in this space.
Thank you so much, Santana. Been a,
All right. Bye, everyone.
bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.